August 22nd, 2009, just before 5 p.m. in the afternoon. I'm currently here in the city of Trenton in Ontario, about an hour and a half, a little less than 2 hours away from Toronto. And I'm now walking through Fraser Park here. Behind me you can see this big waterway, which is the Trent-Severn Waterway, a canal that links Lake Ontario with Georgian Bay and eventually Lake Superior. Length of 365 kilometers with 44 locks, and it's quite a picturesque town actually. I'm gonna walk down the main street in just a few minutes here, but this is a nice looking park here, Fraser Park, with a band shell. And we just had a chat here with a fellow that actually runs the Fraser Park Marina. He didn't want to be on camera, but nice older gentleman who runs the marina in the summer and goes traveling in the winter. What a lifestyle. He was just telling us that this past winter he went to Australia and New Zealand, and at the marina he actually sees travelers from all over the world. He just explained to us that sometimes he sees European boaters that come in all the way from Switzerland and other European places, and it takes them 27 days to cross the Atlantic. Here you see the cenotaph, memorial to people that fell during the Second World War, 1939 to 1945, right here. Also names of locals that fell. So it's always very interesting when you're traveling to different places what kind of people you meet. Another little story from our trip today, actually, we have a couple of nice stories to tell. We parked our car just outside of Brighton on the waterfront and met three nice ladies from Germany that were traveling through. They're vacationing right now in Canada on a 2-week trip, and they rent a car and are driving all the way from Toronto to Kingston to Montreal and eventually to Quebec City. And we had a nice chat with them, and they're certainly having a great time here in Canada at the moment. And then in Brighton we drove a little bit further east to the, what was it, Lakeview Marina? I can't remember the name of the place, but it's a nice waterfront building actually that they just built in 2007, and it's the Lakeview Marina and Cafe, I think is the name of it, and there's also a motel right next to it. We sat down and had a couple of nice coffees on the terrace right next to the water, and the lady, the owner, we chatted with her, and she told us, I mean in her English accent, that she's actually from Brighton, England. And now she's settled down in Brighton, Ontario, which I found really interesting, and she only came here to Canada, I think, in 2001. Again, somebody that was a little bit shy about being on camera. But again, I thought, what a nice story, you know. She came to Canada, met a gentleman, fell in love with him, and settled down here. And settled down in the town of the same name as the British seaside town. So when you travel, it's always a great experience when you connect with locals, connect with other travelers, and it's really a wonderful experience to reach out to people and just meet some nice people. Now here I'm coming up to what I was told is the post office of Trenton. You can see here this structure here is newer. It looks like it was built in the 1970s or something. But this limestone tower here is definitely authentic and an old building, very interesting building. Straight ahead of me is the main street of Trenton, and I'm going to give you a little look of that in just a second here. You can see that many of these country towns in Ontario have a core that dates back to Victorian times. Here you say, support our troops. There's a big Royal Canadian Air Force base here in Trenton. and that's why there's a reference to the military. And this is now a look down Main Street, Trenton, with this amazing limestone tower here. You can see 5 o'clock. Let's see what's on the front of this door here. Okay. Former post office building erected in 1888 occupied this site. Trenton Municipal Offices, Parking Authority Garage opened April 26, 1974. See the building in the back that I showed you was from in the 1970s. Clock Tower, Thomas Fuller, architect designated under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act, City of Trenton. Okay, these marks bear testimony to the reenactment of the ceremony granting the freedom of the City of Trenton to Canadian Forces Base Trenton by His Worship Mayor Neil F. Robertson on October 4, 1991 in celebration of the 60th anniversary of Canadian Forces Base Trenton. Very interesting, lots of historical plaques here on this building, and as you can see, a portion of it was definitely taken down, unfortunately, in the 70s and replaced by this rather brutal looking structure. But you can see additional architectural heritage here in Trenton. Here's another limestone building that looks to me like a throwback to the late 1800s. It's now an accounting company that's located in here. And this is basically the main street in Trenton here. Now we've done a nice little country tour today, starting in Toronto early in the morning, heading over to Port Hope, Cobourg, made stops in those two historical towns, which was very nice. And then, oh, look at this building. For lease will build to suit tenant. Looks like it's burned out. So we stopped in those two towns, and then we drove through Grafton and Cobourg, minor towns with not a huge amount of stuff to see, but still cute to drive through. The Grafton Village Inn, by the way, is a nice country inn. And then we stopped in Brighton and have now come up to Trenton here. So these are images from my little country drive on August the 22nd, 2009.